Hannah woke early and the house was still, pitch black, and silent. Fearfully, she felt her way through the unfamiliar rooms in her nightgown and bare feet. The floor was cold underfoot. When she found the front door, she let out her breath slowly. Now, she thought, she'd open it and be back home. Please, please. Cautiously, she pulled on the door and stared out. Dawn was just beginning beyond the rim of the field. A thin strand of light spun along the horizon between earth and sky. A rooster crowed his wake-up call in the clear air. "Ow! Ow!" echoed back. That was when she remembered the dream. She had been at Seder, surrounded by familiar places, and for some reason she hated being there. The sweet wine, the bitter herbs, she could almost taste them. She heard her aunt's voice sing in the dye and knew as if from miles away. Suddenly a terrible longing for all the people in the dream overcame her, and she moaned softly. "So you could not sleep either." Shmuel's voice, deep and rumbling, came from the dark behind her. "Getting married is the most frightening thing in the world, I think. Surely my marriage is not what kept you awake. Did you have another bad dream, Chaya? I worry about you and your dreams. A girl's dreams should be like her life. Should be sweet and filled with honey." She nodded slowly, then turned. She could see nothing in the black room. As if sensing that, Shmuel came over to stand by her side in the doorway. He was fully dressed and smoking a pipe. The curls of smoke feathered out in the open hair, spreading themselves thinner and thinner, till at last they were gone. "Do you think it is strange, little Shia, that I, Shmuel Abramowitz, with an arm like a tree, as Gidel says, a head like a stone, be afraid of getting married?" He flexed his left arm at her and grinned, but above the grin his eyes seemed troubled. "Being married might be scary," Hannah agreed tentatively. "Being married does not bother me," Shmuel said, "but getting married, that frightens me." Not sure she understood the difference, Hannah hesitated. "Maybe," she took a deep breath and hurried with it, "maybe there's something everyone is afraid of. With you, it's getting married. With me, it's shots. Shots. Shots, you know, needles." She jabbed her right finger into the left arm to demonstrate. He smiled and nodded. "You are very sick. I understand. Chayo is sick, not me." He continued smiling, as if humoring her. Hannah drew in a deep breath and sighed. "My mother is afraid of snakes," she said at last. There are not many snakes in Lublin," Shmuel chuckled. "I'm not from Lublin," Hannah said. "I'm from New Rochelle, and I'm not Chaya. I'm Hannah." When Shmuel's eyebrows rose up and lines furrowed his brow, he looked so fierce that Hannah moved back a step. "Of course," she said quickly, "there aren't many snakes in New Rochelle either, and Chaya is my Hebrew name, not Hannah, because a friend of Aunt Ava's in Lublin is a big place, I'm sure," Shmuel said, scratching his beard with gathering urgency. "Surely I'm not familiar with every avenue and street, having been there only once or twice in my life. New Rochelle is not in Lublin, wherever that is. It's a city all its own. Since when is a street a city?" Hannah could feel her voice getting louder, like Aaron's when he was scared, and a panic feeling was gripping at her chest. "New Rochelle is a city. It's in New York." "New?" Suddenly remembering Gitel's boyfriend Avram, she said, "In America. And Krakow is in Siberia." "I get it. A joke to help me forget about my marriage fears." He laughed. "Lublin in America and Krakow in Siberia. So dear Gittel would say this most certainly is that far to both of them." He reached out and patted Hannah on the head. "What a strange little bird you are, indeed. Has found her way in our nest. And Gittel is right. But come, my little Amerikanischer, whose Yiddish is pure Lublinese, let us feed Hopple and Popple and discuss world geography some other time. Lublin in America, Krakow in Siberia." He chuckled again as he held out a cloak for her and a pair of ugly black tie shoes. Seeing that he was not taking her seriously, Hannah decided there was nothing else to do but go along. She took the clothes. The ugly shoes fit perfectly. Too perfectly. She shivered, then followed him out to the barn where they fed hay to the workhorses, Popple and Hopple, in accompanied silence. Hoping for a big breakfast, Hannah was disappointed when all Gittel put on the table was a jug of milk, black coffee, and a loaf of dark bread. "No cereal?" Hannah asked. "No donuts? No white bread for toast?" "White bread, so that is what one eats in Lublin. White bread is for rich folks, not for farmers." Shmuel laughed. "But yesterday you would eat nothing at all. And today you want white bread? It is an improvement, I think. From nothing to Lublin white bread. Ah, but then I forget you are not from Lublin. You are from Rochelle." "New Rochelle." "And where is old Rochelle?" Gittel asked. There isn't any, Hannah said, shaking her head. What's the point arguing with dream people who mixed you up? Anyway, she was starving, even if it was a dream. She reached her milk pitcher and poured herself a glass of milk, took a swallow, and choked. It tasted awful. She looked in her glass. It's got things floating in it. What things? Giddle looked. There. That is not things. That is the cream. You have no cream and milk in Loveland? Rochelle. New Rochelle, Hannah insisted. Old, new, what does it matter? Asked Giddle. But if there is no old Rochelle, how can there be a new? Shmuel mused out loud. Perhaps there's a Rochelle all along. The child does not know it. Pooh, Giddle said. Men love to pursue questions without answers merely for the sake of arguing. It's not what they do best. Ignore him, Chaya. Rabbi, he is not. Hannah Hannah nodded and, noticing Shmuel wasn't eating, tried to pass him the pitcher of milk, but he waved it away. We do not follow all the old customs, Giddle and I. You're alone in here so far from the village, but I think it's not so bad to hold to some of the traditions, like the groom's wedding fast. Giddle snorted. Especially if your stomach is nervous. Me? Nervous? What do I have to be nervous about? Shmuel winked at Hannah as if binding her to silence. I heard you tossing and turning all night, mister. I'm not nervous, and I heard how early you got up this morning, even before the rooster crowed, even before the spring sun. Shmuel seemed about to answer her back when there was a loud knock on the door. Hannah jumped back at the unexpected knock. Then there was a small hope suddenly warmed her. Maybe the knock was some kind of signal that the strange play, was over. Maybe it was her mother or her father, Aunt Ava, standing there. She started to rise, but Giddle got up first and went to the door. When she opened the door framed a man with shoulders as wide as the door itself, wiry red hair and a bushy red beard. Good morning, Yitzhak, Shmuel called out. Yitzhak greeted Shmuel in return, but he kept his eyes on Giddle, who gave him no more than a grunt in the way of greeting. Have some coffee, Yitzhak. It is a long way through the forest from the shtel to here, and longer to Fai's village. Shmuel gesturing expansively with his hand. Have you heard about our little niece Chaya? Little is what I have heard, but what have you said is no little girl. She is a young lady, Yitzhak said, grinning at her. Are you feeling better? I see good color in your cheeks. Hannah looked off the table, embarrassed by the butcher's compliments. And Giddle reached over in front of her and took the coffee pot up, placing it down again with a solid thwack in front of Yitzhak. Taking the pot eagerly, Yitzhak pulled himself a cupful that slopped over the rim. Giddle made a small snick of annoyance between her teeth and wiped up the spill at the edge of her apron. Almost shyly, Yitzhak smiled up at her, took a deep drink of coffee, and then turned slowly to Shmuel. I have 2 cages of chickens outside, Shmuel, my wedding gift. Should I leave them or take them to Faya's village with us? Leave them, Yitzhak, Shmuel said, with our great thanks. After all, Faya and I will be returning here for the wedding night, and she will see them. If she sees anything but your blue eyes, then she is a fool, Giddle said. She should be counting your curls, not her gifts. We will load the chicken in the wagon with the other wedding gifts. Those schnorrs and Vias will not think we do not honor our own. Shmuel laughed. Giddle and Chaya will stay the night with Faya's people and come back home in the morning. It would not do. The walls are thin. He actually blushed, and Giddle put her hand on her shoulder. Do not say it step by step in front of the children, she said. I did no such thing, Giddle. I was careful. I only said that the walls are thin, and so they are. He meant no disrespect, Yitzhak said quite quickly. Hush, Yitzhak the butcher. Do not tell me in my house what is and what is not. Giddle's eyes sparked. Hannah interrupted. But I know what a wedding night is. All 3 stared at her, and yet she laughed nervously. You see, I told you she was a young woman. You said young lady, and a lady is what she is not if she knows such things, Giddle said. It's on General Hospital, Hannah began. Giddle turned to Hannah and shook her head. So in Loveland, the hospitals tell you about these things, and I do not think much of hospitals, and I think even less of Loveland. You know so much, my little yeshiva bosher. Telling you everything more is carrying straw to Egypt. Ah! She threw her hands in the air and spun around to face Yitzhak. You finish your coffee. Look how the morning flies. We sit here gabbling about wedding nights, which will be here soon enough. I still have to clean the house. I will not have Faya coming here, fresh from her father's house, for the serving girl to clean, and think me and all the shtel schlavens. We have to leave before noon. This is why I came early, Giddle, so I might help. My children, too. Yitzhak stood up, the coffee still in his hand. Children, oi, where did you leave them? Tied in cages like the chickens? She clicked her tongue and went to the door. Opening it, she waved her hand and greeted him. Reuven, Zipporah, come in. Two little blonde-haired children, no more than 3 or 4 years old, suddenly appeared in the doorway, silently holding hands. "Go,